The We're So Young podcast wants to hear from you. Do you have an idea of something new we can try during the podcast? Someone who you think would be great on the show? Or just want to say hello? Message us at We're So Young Podcast at gmail.com or visit us at our website, www.we'resoyoungpodcast.com, or go ahead and drop into our DMs on Instagram at We're So Young Podcast or Twitter at We're So Young Pod, just as long as you follow after. Hello, everybody, on We're So Young podcast. This is Diana, and I'm so excited because today we have Irene Agin. Wait, that is how you say it.
That was excellent.
Okay,
Yeah,
Irene Agin. We have Irene Agin, an actress, a Spartan, everything. What do you do, Irene?
Too much sometimes. That's what I do. Too much sometimes. But like you said, I'm an actor as we're working together in winter shorts.
Yes, we're actually recording right now in our dressing room, which is a very fun place to be recording.
So yes, I'm an actor, and yes, I am a Spartan, OCR racer, and
So cool.
and I run a Christmas caroling company, which as we're taping this or. Taping? Do we say taping?
Yeah, I get it. We're recording.
Recording.
Yeah.
That's a better word. Recording. See, I'm old. I shouldn't be on the We're So Young podcast.
No, are you kidding me? You're like way younger than so many people that I know.
So, yeah, and I travel and
You do it all. You do it all. What age did you start acting, or how did you get into the arts? 'Cause that's primarily what you do, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I started when I was 5. I wanted to play an instrument, I think I wanted to. I remember it was like one of those things, your parents are like, you should play an instrument, but I think I wanted to. And so we were like, okay, my parents were like, let's get her some lessons. So they like, what do you want to play? And weirdly and inexplicably, I said I wanted to play the harp. Like,
Whoa, okay.
why? I don't know where that would have come from, but I'm still a small person, but even when I was like 5, I was teeny tiny, and so they took me to this music store, and it was like, she wants to play the harp, and I actually think I remember this. I don't think I'm remembering the telling of it from my parents. Like I remember this little portion of it and the person there being like, well, she's a little small for the harp right now, but why don't you start her on piano? Because that's a good basis for any musical instrument she'd want to play, which was excellent advice by that person. And so I started piano lessons and, just loved doing that. And somewhere along the line, they realized I could sing, that I had a voice, and so I started taking voice lessons, like kids in the arts do. They start taking dance lessons and all of that. And I got involved with this little theater when I was about 15, doing plays, and I got cast. Like probably a lot of people can say their first play was The Sound of Music. They get cast as one of the kids in Sound of Music, and started just doing plays at this community theater for the rest of my junior high school years, and then right after that went to college to get my degree in it.
You've just been doing it ever since.
Yeah, a long time.
So how did you decide to start the caroling company?
Well, it's actually not mine, so I should be clear, but it's a franchise called the Yuletide Carolers.
Okay.
And the owners of the company are from New Jersey, and I think it's now 12, 14 years ago, something like that, they just said we should do this in Florida. They were doing it in New Jersey and in New York, and it's a husband and wife, and the wife Susan, she can't stand the cold weather, so she's like, well, if we start this in Florida, we can go to Florida and do this. And I very randomly, I was recommended to them as a singer. So I caroled with them the first year, and I think it was the second year they said, hey, would you like to take over as the regional director for South Florida? So I said yes, and I've been doing it ever since. So I think that's it. I think I've been the regional director for 12 years, I think, and I may have started a couple of years before that. But so it's their company, but I manage the South Florida arm of it, if you will. They're in Colorado as well.
Oh, cool. And you have a lot of business all the time for this like season, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah, and it's getting earlier and earlier. Just like Christmas is. It's like I think our first.
We just had Christmas like yesterday, and here it is.
It's like
it's
yeah,
soon. It's right. It's tomorrow.
I know, and our first caroling gig I think was November 4th. It's like it wasn't even Veterans Day.
It's not even Thanksgiving.
We still had like Halloween candy on the counters, but I mean it's good for business, but it is getting earlier and earlier. But it really, really starts to get crazy busy after Thanksgiving. So.
And are you just people who go door to door, or how does it? What does it entail to be professional caroler?
Yes, professional. It is definitely professional, sort of high end caroling group, and we have beautiful costumes, and it's all kinds of places. We do country clubs, shopping malls, shopping areas. Today we did 2 churches, saying we had 2 groups at different churches that had us. We have private parties at homes, assisted living facilities, you name it. We're sort of at hotels today too. Later today they're at the Ritz-Carlton.
Oh, wow.
On Key Biscayne. Yes, very fancy. And so yeah, all kinds of places like that.
So we know that you were very artsy. You started very, very young, and we'll go back to that in a little bit. But something that really caught my eye when I first met you was that you are a Spartan. You are probably the most fit person I know. And so talk about what made you start, because you just started doing that recently. Have you always been like a really physically active person?
I have been. I would say so. I would say I've always been physically active. I've always, worked out. Mm-hmm. Always battled my weight. Not to an enormous degree, but, one of those people that was always trying to gain or lose 10 pounds, and gain and lose the same 10 pounds over and over.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we could all relate to this.
Exactly. A very popular tale. But, I'm so short that 10 pounds can make a pretty big difference on me.
How tall are you, Irene?
I'm 5 feet even.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So 10 pounds is like 2 sizes
yeah,
in
that's
clothing.
a lot.
But anyway, so I did always work out, but I was my husband and I had gotten separated, and I was working out at a boxing gym that I had been working out at. And they put this thing up on the board like, hey, join us for this Spartan race. And I was like, okay, And I'm finding I do this now, that I do things a little backwards. So I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. So I was kind of looking for things to really focus on myself for a while, as you do sometimes in those situations.
Hence my podcast.
Yeah, here we are. But then after I signed up for this race, I was like, I should probably kind of see what that's all about. Yeah. What have I signed up for? So I went online and I started looking at what these Spartan races were, and I was like, oh boy, I've never climbed a 20-foot rope. I've never gone over 8-foot wall. I should probably try to see if I can train for this a little bit.
So can you explain a little bit what Spartan is? What are these races? They're ridiculous. They're intense.
There's this whole section of thing called OCRs, which is obstacle course races. So what's included in that is Spartan, which is kind of the I don't know, penultimate of the OCRs. And then, but people heard of the Tough Mudders and terrain races. There's Savage Race, that's another big one that, and they're all obstacle course races. And the obstacles are all, a lot of times very military-based things, like shimmying under barbed wire, going over walls, and like I said, rope climbs, or sometimes it's going across a river or something with your rope, with your feet over one end and your hands on the other. I know.
Oh, that's so cool.
I'm sitting here acting this out like anyone could see me but Diana. But and, so yeah, things like that. And And so, yeah, these races are kind of crazy and they're pretty intense. But when I signed up for this, I found this Spartan trainer, a woman named Casey, and she is like a certified trainer for Spartan, for the company corporation Spartan. So I was like, oh, well, she was starting a training sessions for the Spartan race I had signed up for. So I was like, I should do this. So I did, and I started training with her, and that was 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago now. And I just fell in love with it for some reason. And so I did my first race that December of 2015, and then just have been doing them ever since, and been training with her at her gym, which is called ATP, Atomic Training and Performance. And so I just finished my Spartan trifecta, which is, I did that right before we met, or not met, we'd met, but started working together. So
yeah, actually, can you talk about how that experience is different than all your other ones? Because it's so
well, because I had gotten cast in the show we're doing, Winter Shorts. I was scheduled. Spartan has this thing where you can earn your trifecta, which means within one calendar year you have to complete their shorter distance race, which is 3 to 5 miles, called the sprint. You have to do this super, which is between 8 and 10 miles, and then the beast, which is between 13 and 15 miles. And if you complete all 3 of those races in a calendar year, you get your trifecta. And so I had done the first 2 races, and I was scheduled to do the beast our opening night in Florida. So that wasn't going to work. So I was really determined to just finish it. So I went up to Spartanburg, South Carolina to do the beast. So I just went up by myself without my teammates, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to do this. But living in South Florida, I don't know about you, but like I forget it gets cold other places.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, cold? What?
When I moved to Ireland, I was like, oh yeah, it's summer, I'll take a sweater. And then I was like, what am I doing? I got here, I was like, I'm an idiot.
you do. You really do lose like sight of it.
Yeah, you think cold is like 50.
Right. Oh, yeah, I'll bring a little sweater.
Yeah.
We are not in reality. We're all that concerned down here. And so it really wasn't until like 10 days before I was going up, I was like, wait a minute. It's going to be cold there. I was like, wait a minute. So I got, like, I had, like a lot of people, I have a weather app on my phone, and I was like checking the weather like crazy every day. And every day it was saying, it was like 35. I was like, wait a minute, what? Because these Spartan races you get in the water too, right. Which that's the crazy part with the cold. I mean, it's bad enough it's cold, but I was in, so I had to do it.
Would you have done it if you would have realized it beforehand?
I think I still would have sucked it up and done it because I was really determined to finish it. But it probably is best that it was
didn't
really
land
too
right
late.
away.
Yeah. So, but I did it. But it was so cold and I was freezing. But I did it, so I was glad about that. So.
And how long are these races? Like, how long does it take?
Well, it depends who you are. My time is not setting the world on fire. I mean, the crazy, crazy athletes. Like, the one I did was just over 13 miles, the last one. And, I mean, there's people that finish it in, just 2 hours. Which, to me, I don't even understand. I mean, they do it, but I don't. So, it took me 5 hours and 10 minutes. I think that's right. Yeah, 5. So, which is not a spectacular time.
You'd still probably beat me.
But I finished. Yeah, I finished it, and I did 27. I completed 27 of the 32 obstacles.
Oh, nice. And so but the cool thing about these races is that they're races, but it's not really like anyone's competing for number 1, right? It's more just like you did it, you finished.
They do have waves that are competitive. So there are those people that are doing it for time to beat other people, and they do get money and I don't know, fancy schmancier medals. But for the most part, people are doing it to finish or beat their own personal time. So yeah, the term race is loose,
that's really positive. I think that's a really great way to just kind of approach something. Just be like, I'm doing it for me.
I'm always like, just finish, don't die. That's my
Just
motto.
don't die. Well, you said at this last race you had to like sign a bunch of forms that you're like, oh, I wasn't aware of this.
You do. I mean, like you sign your life. I think it literally says like you could die, and it's not our fault. Which
See, you're way more hardcore than I am.
I'm not sure anyone's actually died doing a Spartan race. I think but you definitely. I mean, I've seen people certainly get hurt, but.
Oh man. Yeah, I can't. I can't even jump in the water when it's hot because it's just like, oh, it's too cold. But I can't imagine in like 32 degrees jumping into.
It was dreadful. It was dreadful.
Was there a moment that you're like, I'm not gonna do this?
No. Once I was there, it was like, we're doing this. I mean, like, I don't care how miserable I am. I'm like doing it, and for the most part, I wasn't miserable, but I was. No, there was no turning back. I
would have cried. I would have just been like, I'm crying. I'm doing it, but I'm crying the whole time.
I did just sort of look at the sky. I think out loud a couple times I yelled, "I'm from Miami." I think that sort of involuntarily jumped out of my mouth, like looking for sympathy from somebody.
Just let me finish.
I'm not used to this. Why is there frost on the ground?
So you started Spartan as a way to like transition, right? Like it was like a way to like help you transition into a new chapter in your life. Have you so you used Spartan this time. What are some other ways that you've used anything to kind of transition? Because I think that obviously in our lives, and I think as actors in particular, we're very aware of when we're going through a life transition.
Very much. I think so too. Yeah, that was the big one. I mean, like doing the Spartan was kind of a big one. That's a good question. I don't know what other. I tend to be somebody who just tries things too. I mean, it's weird because on one hand, I'm so regimented. I'm so like a type A personality. You know what I mean? Which, those, the kind of people who don't like to be out of their comfort zone.
Right.
But I am kind of aware of that in myself, so I try to make myself. Well, like what I was saying, and I'm a big traveler, and even though I've done that, even when I was married, I just continue to do that. Now I've been just traveling on my own, but it was during that same period of time, I was like, I'm gonna still keep traveling. I don't want that. But I had not traveled by myself. I'd been going not alone. But I was like, no, I love that. I love to travel, and I'm not going to let this be the reason I'm not. So first, goes back to this doing things a little bit backwards. I wanted to go to Amsterdam and the Netherlands, and I wanted to go like when the tulips were all in bloom and all of that. So I was looking for like different tour companies, and I like active travel, obviously. And so I found this biking trip where you would bike from Amsterdam to Bruges with some shuttles in between.
How far is that?
That's an excellent question. I don't Google it, people. I don't know. But because we also, there were times we were like in a shuttle. Like we biked a lot of it, but we would stop and then get taken like to our next hotel or whatever. And
okay, so it was over the course of a few days.
Yep, it was I think it was 6 days, maybe 7 days.
Okay.
And that one was all biking, but it was hitting like all these places I wanted to go. Like it started in Amsterdam, and then wanted to go to Bruges and The Hague, and just all these places I was interested in. So I was like, oh well, that sounds cool. So I signed up for that. And then I was like, I should probably get a bike. Because I didn't have I'm like, I just spent all this, I'm going on this biking trip from Amsterdam to Bruges. I didn't even own a bike.
Well, I mean, that's interesting, yeah, because
they provide it once you're there, but I was like, I knew how to ride a bike, but it's not like I was some cyclist.
Right, yeah.
So I was like, I should probably do that. So I got a bike, and I just started riding a bike, and then I had that small moment of panic of like, what am I doing? Like, especially because like in the brochure, like everyone in it looked like Lance Armstrong, And I was like, no, I'm like the lady with a hat taking pictures of windmills. Like, I'm like, am I going to be able to do this? And I was like, so I remember I called one day just in a panic, in a calm panic, but I like was talking to the person at the tour company. I'm like, so I just need to clarify, like I'm not like a cyclist. I mean, I can ride a bike, but like I'm nervous. All of these people look like they're on the Tour de France in your brochure, and I'm looking to just pedal along and see some cows and tulips. I'm like, is this going to be okay? And they assured me, yes, it's for all levels, and and blah blah. I'm like, okay. And sure enough, it was perfectly fine. But
how many people end up going in that tour group?
It kind of varies. I've done several trips with that company now. Some of them are biking, some of them are hiking, some are a combination, some are like multi-sport. And I've had anywhere between, when I went to the Basque region, I think there was only like 7 of us, which is pretty small.
Yeah.
For the most part, it's probably about like 16.
But that's great. You end up making some. You like by forced to make a bunch of friends.
Yeah, and it's like I had traveled with other like tour companies and things, and same thing. It's nice, but you get more of on that front. You get a little more mixture of people, and so you get along with some people. I mean, it's always fine, but for some reason on the active travel, it just attracts a certain type of person.
Right.
All ages, all types of people from different walks of life, but there's still just sort of a similarity in their approach to life that you do end up like, I feel like getting along with everybody even that much more.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And how was that experience, that first experience of traveling by yourself? And like, did you have like an eye-opening experience? You were just like, oh, okay, this is my life now, and
Yes.
this is what I'm doing. And
that is exactly, I mean, in that particular trip on a personal level, I wasn't 100% sure that my marriage was going to be over. But it was like, okay, if that's what is going to be, I can do this. I really didn't know how I was going to feel about it, and wasn't sure if I would be lonely. I wasn't sure, how comfortable. I mean, I'm pretty independent anyway, but still, it's just different not having somebody right there to, you read the map now.
Yeah.
It's like you're doing everything, and
yeah, there's so many things I think that when you realize that you're flying solo for a little bit, it just like it's very eye-opening with the things that you took for granted before.
Yeah.
Like making coffee. I realized I didn't know how to make coffee, and I was like, I was in my apartment, I was like, I don't know how to make coffee. Like little things like that. But then I think it makes you appreciate it so much more. I think like especially going on a trip or something, just like realizing how powerful and strong you are, and being like, I could do this.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's especially that first time. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to feel about this, and I had added like 2.5 days, I guess, in Amsterdam before I joined the group, because pretty much the tour started with you leaving Amsterdam. But there was so much I wanted to see there. So I was like, gosh, I'm just going to be in Amsterdam by myself for a couple days. Like, how am I going to feel about that? I mean, I'm an only child, and I'm good by myself. It's just different, especially when your traveling experience has always been with someone else and sharing it. But it was okay. It's different. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I think I still would prefer having someone to go with. It's just, life's fun when you're sharing it with someone.
Right.
But I certainly just had an amazing time, and I wasn't lonely at all. But I mean, that had to do with joining the group too.
Right.
I think if I were truly by myself for like 8 to 10 days, it would get a little, because it gets old eating by yourself.
Oh, that's my big thing.
Yeah, that gets old. That's about the only thing where you're just like, food is so communal. You want to sit and share, like, oh, this is good,
and like, especially in a new place, just because it's like you want to share this experience. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah,
but it does. Like you said, all of a sudden you're just like, no, I can do this. And it was so funny. This last year I went to Switzerland. I went hiking in the Alps with that same company. It was a hiking tour. And but beforehand, same thing. I had gone to Zurich and was just wanted to see that city, and that was the easiest one to fly into. And then, like, I took the train to Interlaken and spent a day there before joining the group. And it was so funny because I remember talking to my mom that night that I got to Interlaken, and I was like, yeah, no, I took the train here, and then tomorrow I meet the group. And it was funny because it was like, it's been like a handful of years now, but she said, for the first time too, it was weird. She just said to me, she said, and you don't get scared just like taking the train? Don't you get scared? And I was like, no, I've never felt scared, but I mean, I travel smart too. I don't wander off into, crazy areas.
You don't go into an alley. And
right. I mean, I'm keep my eyes open.
Right.
But anyway, but yeah, it's a good feeling to do it by yourself.
Yeah, it's freeing. It's freeing. I think, I mean, I went on this tour this year, and I was still in a relationship at the time, but it was the first time in my life that I was like doing something by myself, and not really knowing anybody. And like, there were so many times on the tour that I was like, I just kind of want to walk alone. I'll check in with you guys,
Totally.
Because it's so freeing just to be able to like people watch and just kind of be in your own thoughts and watching and just it's
100%.
So cool.
I completely relate to that.
What's been your favorite place that you've been to? I asked this every time.
I know it's so tricky, because you've traveled a lot too, so that's such a hard question.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, because there's so many places I love, but when someone asks me that, the one that immediately jumps to my mind, the front of my mind, is South Africa.
I'm dying to go to South Africa.
There was just something just amazing about South Africa. And I guess because it's one of those places, I think for most people, I think it's hard to have any sort of, I don't know, not that it's hard to have an expectation about, but like I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
You say Africa to people, and it's like, they're like, oh gosh, or it seems scary, or it seems...
And people forget that Africa is huge.
Humongous.
It's like,
it's a huge continent.
Yeah, and there's like so many countries in Africa.
And yes, there are places in Africa, but I think there's that one image they have of it that I think is... they think of the poverty, or they think, so...
South Africa is not that part of Africa.
No, and then they've had a very interesting history, but I think that's what it was, is, Cape Town, which looks remarkably like San Francisco.
Oh, really?
Oh, my God. Like, I was like, I feel like I'm in San Francisco. It's got the wharf. It's got the sea lions on the wharf, just like it's surrounded by winelands. I mean, it's so funny. And I have a friend who's from South Africa, from Johannesburg, not Cape Town. But when she moved here, she said when they went to San Francisco, they were like, wow, this looks like Cape Town. So I was like, oh, good. Yeah. So you have that, and, to go to Robben Island and like see Nelson Mandela's cell, like just the history. And then to go on safari, and have that aspect of it.
That's what I want to do. I want to go to safari so badly.
So that trip comes to mind, just because it's so rich in so many ways.
Yeah.
But gosh, there's so many places I love.
Where's the next place you want to go?
That's interesting. Yeah, I've been literally like 2 nights ago. I
really started,
trying to like pin it down. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe Japan.
Ooh.
There's a hiking trip in Japan that's
great.
It's a little pricier than usual because Japan's very expensive. But...
Apparently, you can just camp everywhere because nobody camps in Japan, so they have no rules against camping.
They're like, we don't know what to do with
Yeah, they're
this.
just like, what, this American is here camping.
Well,
so
I think my camping days are right. I'm more the glamping kind of, I'll walk and hike all day, but then I'd like my nice hotel room.
Yeah.
So yeah, whenever people are like, you're so adventurous, I'm like, yeah, but you don't give me too much credit.
Wait, so what do you do with your luggage?
They bring it for you. It's amazing.
So you just, that's awesome.
That's why I say, like, don't give me too much credit.
Now.
Like, so yeah, you'll, like, if it's a day you're leaving that particular hotel and going to a different destination, like maybe, so you'll hop on your bike and maybe you're biking 35, 40 miles or whatever. But yeah, there's some nice little van that's taking your luggage. So when you bike and pull up to the hotel in your bike, all your stuff's already there in your room. It's pretty.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, it's a little fancy as well. So.
But that's just so cool.
It's sort of the best of both worlds,
that's
really.
The best.
Yeah.
And you say that, like, you can keep, because now I'm like, I want to do it, but I learned how to bike for a movie this year. That was,
yeah,
like, I'm not good at biking. I'm like, but
Trust me,
I could hike.
Matter.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
good. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so it's fun.
So, let's go back a little bit to acting. Do you think that all of these things that you've gone through, specifically in the last 3 years when you decided to do this fun adventure and all these things, how do you think it's affected you as an actor?
Well, I think, like,
or as a person, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, as actors, we have only our own experiences to draw on, so the more experiences, good, bad, and otherwise, tragic, horrible, joyful, wonderful, all those things just sort of make who you are. And so it only makes, both, like what you said, it's like, it makes, even the bad things, it makes you a richer person, I don't know, those things are just more at your fingertips, those emotions, those experiences, to recall those things. And when horrible things are happening, it's like, oh great, this will make my acting so much cheaper. It's like, you're like, yeah, forget that. I don't need that. But I think it's obviously to an attitude thing from everyone. It's the whole, a lot of cliches always become cliches for a reason, but the things that don't kill you make you stronger. And just trying to, even when something horrible or bad, or when something's happening to you, or that was not what you wanted, or how you thought your life was going to go, you have those two choices. You can let it knock you down, or just say, well, that happened, and now my life is this, and unfortunately, the older you get, I don't really mean this even, and it sounds bad, but it's what you hear all the time is like, nothing is certain but change, or just when life just throws you things when you least expect it, and to not make plans, and God laughs at you, or whatever they say, all those cliches prove so true, because, and I think every time it happens, I don't know if I want to say it gets easier, but it's less shocking.
Yeah.
I think when you're younger and those things happen, you're like, wait, what? No, that's not how this goes. That's not what I thought was happening. Like, I have this plan, like, and something derails it. I think when I was younger, and I think when you're younger, it's that disbelief of, like, that life can and that comes from someone who, I'll say that, came from, I don't use the word privileged meaning money really, but like someone who did not have an enormous amount of hardship or heartbreak as a child. I mean, there are people who have gone through so much as younger people that this is not the case. But I think for a lot of people, their parents try to shield them from horrible things, and or they're perhaps the bad stuff isn't quite to the level of once you're older. But the more it happens, not that I recommend a lot of heartbreak, but you just go, okay, that happened, and this is how we go on from it. And you find different coping mechanisms. You find the whole, like, trying to take care of yourself, which people tell you always to do, but sometimes you end up being so involved with another person, another thing, another plan, that you forget about yourself sometimes. And I don't mean that in a selfish way, because I think it can be taken to the nth degree, but just a how to be centered and content in yourself no matter what is going around you. So there'll be times when, yes, I'll be sharing myself with another person, and so that's wonderful and adds this other thing to my life, but it's still me in the middle, and not letting those external things define me as much as the other way around.
Right.
And I think that comes with experience and time and and just things happening.
Yeah. I mean, so if you could tell, I don't know, maybe like 21-year-old Irene.
Oh God.
Knowing everything that's going to happen.
Think about her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now I want to know about 21-year-old Irene.
I don't even remember it.
So, like, if you could tell 21-year-old Irene, how you've grown to go through transitions, what would you say?
I would say that, look, all that stuff you think is going to happen, or that you're just certain will happen, may not happen. I mean, do your best for those things that you want and goals and things, but they may not. But don't let those things, don't spend so much time going, why did that happen? Why? And bemoaning the why. Of course, you get a little time to do that. I think everyone's entitled to that. You can have your pity party. I think it's good for you. You're allowed. But pick yourself up and stop dwelling on it, and learn how to punt, veer on a. You don't have to get off the journey, but maybe you're just now on another path. Yeah, and I know that's a little cliche or whatever.
But that's great. I mean,
but like, yeah, and I mean, I'll be honest with you. I still struggle with that. I'm very much sometimes like, but why did that happen? Or like, why did that person treat me that way? Why? But less so than when I was 21.
Yeah,
you're just like, look, move on. I mean, those two words are. Move on is good, and I don't mean. I also feel like there are people who just move on, and like they don't even give the time or respect to the thing that just happened. So much so that then they don't grow from it.
Right.
Like they're ready to just not even acknowledge it happened. Yeah. You know what I mean? A person, an experience, like, nope, moving on. But I think that's where I was sort of getting to with like the pity party. It's not just a pity party. It's a reflection time.
Yeah.
That I think can be healthy, like to sit there and think it through. And what happened? What was my part in this? Why this didn't happen? What are the things I couldn't control that just happened? And to just sort of, but then once you have reconciled those things, which I do think is healthy, because I do see people who don't do that. They're just like, well, moving on, but then you see them doing the same.
Yeah, you stunt yourself doing that.
Yep. You get in that same pattern that like, well, all right, I'm done, moving on, which sounds healthy, but I don't know. For me, it's that mixture of let yourself sort of sit in it for a little bit, think about it, think it through, like I said, what's my part in it? What could have I done differently? What can I learn from this? And then move on.
Yeah.
And then go, you know what? The outcome is the outcome. There's nothing different. So let's just Now we'll move on with it.
Yeah, that's such a positive way to think about it. It's just like acknowledge what's going on and then embrace the change and just kind of see where it goes from there.
Yes, exactly. But you can't ignore that those things happen.
Yeah.
It's like when somebody dies or something, people are just like, I'm not going to deal with, it's that there's a difference of like, I'm not going to deal with it and I'm moving on, because then you're really not dealing with it.
Right.
And you're just kind of, people get in patterns of behavior because they've never really dealt with not even their own behavior, but how they're responding.
Right.
So I do think there is some healthy, which comes with sometimes with tears and drinking, or I don't know. With tears and, a little bit of beating yourself up sometimes. But
that's what this whole podcast is about. It's just like going through a change, whether it's a positive change or a change that you weren't expecting. Because I feel like regardless, any change is positive because you're going to learn and you're going to change from it. But it's just like what to do when you're going through that change and embracing the things that you need to go through in order to, you be better. Would 21-year-old Irene ever think she'd be doing a Spartan race?
No, probably not. No.
You see, like, that's so cool to me, like the kinds of opportunities that kind of just arise from the change that you would have never expected, and like the things that you surprise yourself with when you
100%.
go through these transitions, I think is the coolest thing. Yeah, like I'm telling you, I found out, I was like, she races, she does those like obstacle course things. It's like, it's so hardcore.
Yeah, it's true. You don't, you find things in life, especially if you open yourself up to it. But like that's the kind of thing that comes about because you decided, I want to focus on myself. And again, that's not so I don't care about other people and I'm not looking. It's not that. Yeah. It's finding what makes you feel content and makes you feel like you. So you are that for other people.
Exactly. Like how can you have a relationship, whether it be a friendship or a family relationship, any sort of relationship in your life, a coworker relationship, if you don't know who you are?
Right. Because then you end up just sort of fitting somebody's idea of who you are. What does that person want me to be, or how, I mean, and I think us as actors especially, we, on the positive side of that, there can be a versatility to how we are.
Right.
Not a phoniness, but like, I'm in this situation and there's an expectation that I'm supposed to be professional and whatever in this circumstance. Yeah. That's to me not. If it's not a phoniness, if you're still true to who you are, then it's just one version of yourself.
Right.
So I think sometimes we have different versions of ourselves depending on a circumstance. But when it comes to like the people who are truly in our lives and like you said, our family, our close friends, the person we may be in a relationship with. I think until you get a strong sense of who you are, what you want, it's hard because then you're just trying to fit somebody else's idea of, and that's not even their fault. That's your own fault. I feel like those situations have been my fault.
Do you think that you ever stop learning about who you are?
I don't want to. I mean, I think there are people. I think there are people who really don't own a mirror. I mean, I really do. I know that sounds harsh, but there are people that I feel like, wow, you can see them like they don't look at their own behavior. They don't take ownership of things in their life. They're the people in your life that you see blaming everybody for everything. And so I think those people exist that don't continue to grow, unfortunately. But I think everyone absolutely has the capacity to do that. And I hope I'm one of those people. I mean, as my dear friend Beth always says, like when we talk about how we respond to something, she's like, Irene, you're just not wired that way. or she'll say about herself, I'm just not wired that way. So yes, there are things that we are our inherent personalities. Like I'm going to want to take action. I'm going to want to control a situation. I'm fine being in charge of things. There are people who are not wired that way. And so that's not who they are.
Right.
So that's fine, but as far as like within who you are, growing and just really, but learning that about yourself.
Yeah, and that idea in itself is what keeps you young, I think, as a person. It's just the idea of like, well, I'm still learning and I'm still growing, and it doesn't matter how old I am. Like,
no,
I'm gonna try something new, and I'm gonna do something to like help me grow further as a person. So I think
I hope it continues.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
definitely kept you very young.
Well, thank you. But yeah, I think it's healthy, and it's just makes life a little bit more of an adventure to get out of your comfort zone.
How fun.
Which is not, like I said, that's not how I'm wired. I mean, people would argue that because I end up doing these things, but it's very consciously decided.
No, but just the fact that you do it, like just, that you can still, you can be nervous, but still find the excitement into these adventures. You know,
I guess because I'm never sorry. You know what I mean? It's like with a lot, it's like that whole, will I regret this? No. It's scary, and I'm nervous, and I have like 47 reasons why, it'd be easier not to do this. But it's been my experience that I just never regret it. Like you were saying, it's like you just, because in some way it made you grow, it made you learn something, it made you know something you didn't know before, and that's just never regrettable.
Right.
But yeah, but it's you have to be conscious. I think you do have to consciously tell yourself that.
Yeah.
Being a person's not easy sometimes.
Not easy. Cut yourself some slack.
Give yourself a break.
Okay, so we're nearing towards the end of the podcast. What is something new that you've tried recently?
I know. Now, you're good. Oh, gosh. What is something new I've tried recently?
It could be very simple. It could be like I tried a new way to work.
Right.
95 was closed on our way home. We had to find a different route.
Right. Oh, shoot. See all this, like, look at me, I do new things. And I'm like, I don't know, I don't do anything. Something new I tried recently. Oh.
All right, I'll let you think
terrible.
about that.
Okay.
What's something new that you want to try?
Well, this doesn't really count. I was going to say, it always involves, like, going somewhere new.
No, that totally
count?
counts,
okay.
Yeah.
So, like, if I end up going to Japan, like, I'd like to climb Mount Fiji. Yeah, like,
Whoa.
while I'm there. I mean, that's not it. That sounds really impressive, but lots of people do it. Like, it's not like climbing Kilimanjaro, which is also
Is it like rock climbing?
No,
or is it like
I
hiking?
think it's actually, like, tourists do it a lot. I mean, it's not like it's simple, but it's not like, oh, I'm going to climb Mount Everest. It sounds way more, but it is something I'd like to do. So if I go to Japan, that's what I'd like to do. If not, there well, I was telling you, I don't want to go, I know we're almost the end, but like,
no.
They also have, the other trip I'm looking at is where you hike part of the Camino de Santiago.
Oh, right.
But I've thought even, well, what if I just did like 100-mile pilgrimage and do the pilgrimage?
Yeah. My uncle did the whole thing.
Yeah, I know people
do
have,
it.
it's amazing. So that's like something is under consideration too. How about that?
Do you take one trip a year? Like, is that your, like, do one? Well, yeah, I guess you have to.
It gets expensive, unfortunately. Yeah. So generally I take one big one a year. Oh. But I try to, pack a lot into it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I hope you do get to go to Japan. Although, Camino Santiago, I don't. Now I'm like, whichever one, that'd be great.
That's
I can't wait to see the pictures.
I'm kind of like, there's so many places to go. Yeah. I mean, as many places I've been, it just seems like the list is still huge.
And there's something beautiful about what you find in yourself with travel.
Oh my God!
Like even just seeing people that are just like you but totally different, you just realize so many things about yourself.
I feel like, and I don't mean this in a snobby, snooty, any kind of negative way, but I really feel so much of the fear in our country, and I say our country because it's the only one I live in, but I imagine it's true of everywhere. When everything seems so foreign. Like, people seem so different. Like, and just people are scared of that. But I think anyone who travels abroad, travels to other countries, it becomes so clear so fast how people are just people.
They're just people.
I mean, yes, they have cultural differences or, things that make them them. But I think we get into such generalizations about groups of people and nationality and they're abstract. But anyone who travels, and like I said, I don't mean that in a snobby way, and I know not everyone can do that. It is impossible to look at the world the same way once you've left the country and gone to other countries. You just can't look at the world the same way.
It's such an eye-opening, beautiful experience to be able to travel. But I think that even something as simple as just like trying a new kind of food in your own area,
100%.
Like something as simple as that, just kind of broadening your horizons, even in your own city, does not the extent of what traveling has done.
You're 100%
but like,
right. Like, again, I'm not trying to be judgmental, but there's people like, I eat at the same 3 restaurants. I eat the same 3 things all the time, and they're like, nope, that's what I like. That's it.
Yeah.
But you're just try. You want to say just
try. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It really does. You'll have no idea what you might find or enjoy that you're convinced you wouldn't. But I just feel like there's so many of those people that never travel but somehow got dragged on some trip somewhere, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I have to do this.
Yeah.
Just try. And if you go, go to Italy, and if you hate it, then all right, fine. You never have to go anywhere again. But try it.
I want to know someone who went to Italy and didn't like it, because I don't know. I guess I don't know. I had such a great time.
I know.
I don't know.
I'm
like trying to think of a place that I visited that I was like, I had such a miserable time, and I think I can't think of one. I've had not great experiences traveling, but I don't think that I've gone to a place where I'm like, I hated this place.
I had someone once say to me like, oh, I didn't like Venice. It was so ugh. And I was like, and I looked at that person completely differently, like, from then on. I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, oh, it was kind of dirty. I'm like, well, yeah, but who cares? Look at this place.
Yeah.
It's like nowhere else. There are no cars. Like, it's an outlook. It's like, yes, of course, you can see the dirt everywhere you go if you want to, but just find the unique, amazing things. And
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
This was so fun. I'm so grateful that you did this. And
thanks for asking, Emma.
I'm going to check back in on you and see if you went to Japan.
I'll go somewhere, so you'll see something.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.
Thanks again for listening to the We're So Young podcast. Like what you've been hearing? Help spread the word. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Rate, review, and tell your friends about We're So Young. And don't forget to follow us on our socials, at We're So Young Podcast on Instagram, at We're So Young Pod on Twitter, and We're So Young Podcast on Facebook. Let's all get inspired to try new things together. That's it for now. Tune in on the 1st and the 15th of each month for new episodes. Until then, step out of your comfort zones and try new things, because we're so young.